So we are on to the county hurdle, and this is a bit of a hit and miss race for me again, a bit like the Coral Cup. Willie Mullins and Dan Scatlin won 6 of the last 7, so it shouldn't be that hard, really. And that's 3 each, by the way. So Dan Scatlin really is doing a Willie Mullins job farming this. A few stats. So unless the horse is a graded hurdle, you want him to have produced 129 Racing Post rating plus, and that's within the last 3 runs. There's only been a couple of exceptions to that since the turn of the century, and was Sam Ra, which was a real one-off as a horse that was completely unexposed. You don't really see that kind of horse winning this kind of race, but if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Willie Mullins, isn't it? So he feels like a bit of a freakish one, and the other one was Mahayed. They're the only exceptions in the last 20 years. So really what you're doing is, when you bear in mind that those 2 exceptions were Mullins and Skelton, it's either Mullins or Skelton or a horse that's produced a 129 RPR plus in its last 3 runs. Discount everything else, you've got a short list of your winner. I think it's worth saying that ex-flat horses have a really good recent record in this race, winning place record. And when you check that, if you're doing any form study on that, it's not just the typical Mark Johnson type horses off the flat in the UK. You need to check for French provincial form as well. Sometimes that can be hidden away on the Racing Post website. When it's provincial form, it's not always picked up. So you might have to go and do a bit of digging on France Gallop if a horse has come over from France, just to double check. 17 of the last 20 was novices or second season hurdlers, and the exceptions were horses stepping down from graded races or look like total plots. So as a profile, you can actually picture and narrow down quite quickly for those kind of horses. So 5 of the last 10 were novices, 3 of the last 10 were second season hurdlers, and 2 of the 10 were previously grade 1 hurdlers coming down into handicaps. So, thinking of horses like Arctic Fire, for example. So, Aramon was second 2 seasons ago. You can and was beaten by Samoa, who was an exception. Aramon in any other season probably would have been a county hurdle winner. So I don't see many of that kind of horse this year. If I'm honest, I don't think I saw any as I looked at the entries. So I think you can discount those, I think, unless somebody does spot one, highlight it on the forum maybe. So the rest were either novices or second season hurdlers and unexposed second season hurdlers generally. The only previous course winners this century were the second season novices. So, and Sam Watt was the only handicap debutant in the last 30 years. So, massive Willie Mullins trend busting stuff going on there again. The Betfair Hurdle and the Ball Sport Hurdle placed horses have got a really good record in the race, so it's worth just having a check back into those races. And runners from the Dublin Racing Festival have an excellent record, full stop. It's always worth double checking any credible Nichols entries. I had a look. I don't think there was anything that would switch me on there, if I'm really, really honest. I think he's got a couple of entries, but I wasn't blown away. He's had 4 previous winners, so he knows how to win this race. So the bottom line is, unless it's Mullins or Skelton, just apply some fairly simple criteria, and you're going to get a fairly short and concise list to work from. I had a few that most of them have been found in the market, really. Not all, but most have. Top Bandit's been on my list for a long time. He was one I marked out a long time ago, but he's been found by the market now. I backed him at 16s originally, but I think he's something like 7s now. I think he's pretty short. Yeah. West Cork, clearly I'm interested in, and I've got a connection to the stable, so if I'm interested in that, it's for good reason, and I am. He's definitely been held back for this race. They like him a lot, and the trainer has a first class record in this race. He's got 3 other entries. Favois, something else as well that, I thought I can't ignore and I need to keep an eye on, but I don't feel compelled to do anything about them right now. There's a third one of...
he's got 4. I think he's got a lucky one who ran at Ascot.
Yeah, it wasn't him. And he won't get it anyway.
Stepney Causeway.
Stepney Causeway, that was the other one. I thought Stepney Causeway because I had it. He's of some interest to me for the Grand National, as I mentioned earlier. But I think he could be really well handicapped over hurdles. I just need to have another look at him. And I can't remember whether I recalled Dan saying something. Well, I actually can't remember. But both him and Favois are worth a second look. Favois attempted to do the more battle hurdle route last year from memory. Again, that might just need a fact check on that. But I think they think his mark's okay over hurdles without being West Cork kind of ahead. But they do like him. And nobody there's going to tell me if they're messing around and doing whatever. I don't know that to be the case, but I think there's probably a bit more movement in his mark. Mid 140s, 145, I think he might be. The other 2 of Mullins that I was interested in were Stateman if he came here and Far Out. Stateman more for the Grand Roi reasons, or Grand Roy, however you prefer to pronounce it. And Far Out just as that experienced novice that's been running in graded hurdles and is actually on a pretty decent mark. And again, you probably just want to have a quick look at that, John. But at the time I looked at it and I thought, is that all he's on? It quite surprised me. So
he
3.
He misses the festival Far Out.
Oh, does he? Has that been announced today?
A couple of days ago. Just saying they're just minding him.
Well, wonder why he's got the entry.
Other prizes.
The entry came yesterday, so I wonder what.
Okay. Yeah, Feb.
They may have had a change of mind on that because if you bear in mind that horses like Govern and those kind of horses that he'd said aren't going and haven't been entered, but Far Out has been. So I wonder if they've had a rethink on that, or they just want to keep a bit of attention off him. Yeah. Talking about Dublin Racing Festival form, there are a couple that interest me. Far Out interested me for that reason as well, by the way, because Dublin Racing Festival form isn't just about the handicap hurdle there. It's also the novice hurdles. So Far Out interested me for that reason too. But the 2 that interested me from the 2-mile handicap hurdle was Slip of the Tongue, which hasn't been missed in the market now. He's been backed. I quite liked him early on. I was hoping he was going to be here. And I think some people had thought he might be stepped up and tripped to for the Martin Pipe. I'd much prefer him here. I don't see a reason for him to go up in trip. I think he will be a player in this race, and I don't think he'll be far away. Friend of the podcast, Paul's surprise package, I think is also interesting. He either didn't get the run of the race or had a quiet race. Paul certainly hasn't said it to me, and I presume not to you, John O. But the run itself felt to me as though there was something else, and there was a race in him somewhere. And he's quite a big price for this. He's entered, so I think he's quite interesting at a decent price.
Funnily enough, I looked at him the other day actually, just because of the connection to Paul. It's funny you say about the run stuff, because he tended to run quite certainly in midfield, quite a bit more prominent actually, whereas that wasn't the case.
Yeah,
in Dublin, he was held back quite far back, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, me too. And I'm sure we shall never know. Actually, and there was a third one, a fourth one from the Dublin Racing Festival, which I know has been back today, but again, I jumped on early for the same stat reason, and that's my mate Mozzie. That run in the graded hurdle was inexplicably bad, wasn't it? And I'm going to put large inverted commas around the word inexplicably. I can't even say it. Inexplicably bad. On his other form, if he'd have run to form, he might have been getting another £2 or £3 rather than possibly losing £2 or £3. So he could slip in here as a very well handicapped novice. Bear in mind that Gavin Cromwell had said, and actually did give him a champion hurdle entry. Yeah. So, what's his mark? Low 140s, 140, 141, 142, something like that. For a horse that they're giving a champion hurdle entry, that's a remarkably good mark, I would suggest.
Yeah.
Only two.
141.
141. There we go. Only two horses outside of West Cork from the UK that interested me on first pass. One was I Like to Move It. I think he's a decent horse. He's run well around Cheltenham before. I think they think he's graded, and he's only in the 140s. And the last one is Tritonic, who I think is about 145 or 146. And there's a lot of cross form that runs through Tritonic now that I really like, that suggests that he could still be very well handicapped. He's entered in the Moor Battle though, and I'm not sure another £5 is going to see him winning this race. So, he's I'm a bit two-minded about Tritonic. He's got course form. I think he's potentially well handicapped, but I'm not sure I want another £5 on top of his mark. So I'm playing with the idea of backing him, but I might wait for the Moor Battle. The problem I have with him is if he gets beaten in the Moor Battle, is he well handicapped? If he wins the Moor Battle, he gets £5. So, it's kind of one of those catch-22s, really. So that's my short list for the county hurdle.
Nice. Yeah, I keep it quite simple. As you've explained, Mullins and Skelton, they make up the basis of who I back. I don't know if you have any thoughts, actually. Obviously, one of the Skelton runners, Favois, and I think there's a couple in the race that reverts from fences over to hurdles. Wouldn't be kind of an ideal thing for me for the county. I can't really think of many successful runners that have done that in this race. I could be wrong. I haven't kind of fact checked that, but it does seem kind of an odd preparation to me, which just makes me a little lukewarm on him. But yeah, West Cork on the other hand. The thing I say
about that, John, is that potentially that preparation has been because they wanted to hang on to a mark. Bear in mind, he won a novice hurdle back towards the end of last season at Cheltenham, and he retained a mark of 144, I think. So I think they either decided at that point in time that we like that mark and we can do something with that, or they've gone novice chasing and don't think he's good enough. But he's been winning and placing, so you can't really say that about his novice chase campaign. It makes me feel that spin at Wincanton to sharpen him up, putting some cheap pieces on, which is what they did, made me think they were serious. And Bridget Andrews rode him, by the way, because Harry will be on West Cork. Yeah. So it was the other interesting thing for me was that Bridget Andrews rode him that day, which suggests to me that they're both going to the county hurdle.
Yeah, and in fairness, he'd be torn and frayed over fences. I guess I have no insight. You'll have far more insight with Skelton. My kind of first thought is Skelton has no worries in kind of holding back horses, big layoffs. he'll happily have kind of a big break if he's just happy with the mark. But yeah, I might have to re-look him actually, because I kind of dismissed him probably more so on
one thing that Dan isn't shy of is getting one handicap mark, and he's very good at it. And it's not necessarily by holding horses back. It's about sometimes with West Cork, not running them, keeping them fresh, and targeting a specific day. With Favois, running over fences, hang on to the hurdle mark, these kind of things. He's not daft. He sees what other people do. Elliot's is a master of those kind of things, isn't he? So, you've got pretensions of being champion trainer. You want to win as many good races as you can, and that includes big handicaps. So, why not be smart about it? So, Favois is going to get into the county hurdle of 143. He got dropped slightly for that Wincanton run. So, he's one I probably need to add, if I'm honest. I thought about doing it earlier today, and I didn't get around to it. I got a bit sidetracked, and I did think about adding him today.
Yeah, 33-1 is bigger than I thought, actually. So I think I'm going to have to back. I'm going to have to back that. I'm
certainly going to back him now before this podcast goes out. Otherwise, he won't be 31-1.
He won't be 33-1 by the time this is live. Sorry, everyone. Several State Man. I'd be all over if he comes here. It sounds like Mullins is unsure whether the unseat is going to count against him, but we'll see. A couple of others that haven't been mentioned. I think he's probably actually got raised in the form, but I think Eggs. He highlighted Magic Tricks. It was 20-1 at the time. He's been a horse that I've liked. Only 6 years old. Elliot JP runner.
Very consistent.
He's ran he's ran in multiple big handicap hurdles, big fields. Has often ran huge races, placed several times. My concern of him is he's been running in big handicap hurdles with big pots. I don't think they'd be holding him back. I think two of the races he's ran in have had bigger winning pots than what the county hurdle will be. Obviously, there's merit. There's there is obviously the Cheltenham factor in that, but I don't believe at all that he's been held back. He's been running his races. Obviously, the flip side of that is you have a horse that can turn up in a big 2-mile handicap hurdle and perform. So I did back him despite kind of questioning the merit at the time. He is only 6 years old, so the improvement could still come through age. But yeah, I think he's interesting purely because of that consistency. But yeah, whether he's good enough to win, given he hasn't got his head in front in all these other attempts, I'm not sure. We spoke about him earlier. It's another Willie Mullins horse, Ganapathy, just because he was fancy for the race last year. I think he's 20-1 on Run and No Bet. I think that's interesting. Again, there's no harm with non-run and no bet. We don't know how he is. He might not even turn up at the festival, but given he was so well supported last year, I think you have to kind of have him back on your short list. And then, it probably comes back to similar ones like you. Obviously, West Cork, My Mate Mozzie. Yeah, My Mate Mozzie was just a completely different ride to what he's been, how it suits the horse. So that was kind of a major sign, I think, that they were trying to get him ready for something like this. So yeah, basically Skelton, Mullins, and cover a few others that you like, and generally hopefully should be very close.
How's your record in the race? Is it one of those that you've done well in the past?
It's okay actually. I think, yeah, in terms of the Boodles is awful. The Coral Cup was basically the same until heaven help us last year, and I take no credit. I followed, I think, someone from the forum. So they're the kind of two that I do struggle. This probably sits in between. Like you say, I'd say Ultima, Grand Daniel, Kim Muir. Generally the chases I find easier. But yeah, the county would be one of the easier hurdle races, probably just because you have the kind of the two trainers at the head of the market there that have consistently done well in Willie Mullins and Skelton does help narrow it down.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, law of averages across, the hurdles in particular, you can narrow down to certain trainers. Same with handicap chases. You can play a numbers game and make a profit with certain trainers in certain races. And exactly which ones of theirs are the players as well. You can discount several because they still have their social runners. Although I would say, actually, noticeably, I know we've still got another race to do, but noticeably, Willie Mullins seems to have less horses entered up in the handicaps that look as though they're also runs. Because he has a few of those generally.
I'd go ahead with that.
And I don't think that's the case this year. I think he's taken a slightly different view. And talking about easy handicaps, well, we've got the Martin Pipe to do. So, so stats in this actually, again, are quite strong. Having said that, people see it as being the minefield at the end of the festival, but it is actually pretty strong stats wise. Mullins has won 4, Elliott's won 2, Nichols has won 2, so they've dominated with eight between them, and they've had multiple placed horses. Interestingly, all of Willie Mullins' winners were novices. So all winners were either novices or second season hurdlers. So there's been 13 renewals of the race,